Chapter 2, Part 2, 23rd of January 2019. God, can my mum drink? 2 bottles of red polished off before the dessert menu even reached the table. Why did I even bother trying to keep up? Years of peer pressure, I suppose. Well, at least she bothered to turn up, which is more than can be said of my sister. My head is banging today. These hangovers are taking longer and longer to shake off. Not for my mum, it seems, Mr. Diary. A text received at 8:30 a.m. telling me to get up and join her in the garden centre. Well, sod that. A text alarm clock for my hyperactive mother is not what I need when I'm trying to die. I knew Julia wouldn't turn up. She doesn't mean to be so flippant and heartless, but she does take after her mother. Mum only turned up because she'd already done everything that my sister is doing now. Julia is only 2 years my junior, but she has the energy of a girl in her 20s. Lucky cow. It's only jealousy. No wonder Dad died young. It was probably through exhaustion trying to keep up with those two. Well, I've no intention of joining him on his cloud just yet. Certainly not with a trip to Germany just round the corner. Mind you, that can wait too. I'm off back to bed. Text from Julie Clarkson, Western Case 4011, to confirm meeting for tomorrow. I'll probably feel better by then. I'll need all my faculties when I meet her. A few extra hours of sleep and I'll be as right as rain. 24th of January 2019. Well, not the day I expected. Why the hell didn't I just trust my first instincts? Log of meeting with Julie Clarkson, Western Case 4011. Met in Starbucks as agreed. Miss Clarkson did not appear to be as assured as she did in our first meet, and tried to hand over a sum of money within the first 5 minutes. I refused to accept, explaining that an assessment of the job was needed before an agreement could take place. This angered Mrs. Clarkson considerably, and she threatened to take the job to another party. Whether or not this was a threat or a promise was neither here nor there, and I calmly refused the money and the job. I have always reacted on suspicion, and I was happy to walk away. But following the meeting, I adjourned to the Hope and Anchor on Bell Lane to gather my thoughts and reflect on wages lost, only to be joined at the table by a large, heavy-set, shaven-headed, middle-aged man who introduced himself with a firm and meaningful handshake and the words, "Good afternoon, Paul. I'm John Weston." I nearly laid an egg there and then. Only on a few occasions have I ever met the people I'm employed to track and follow, and for all intents and purposes, I could not call Miss Clarkson a client, as contracts and monies had not changed hands. And yet, having conducted the initial meetings and sort of discussed terms, I felt like I'd blown my cover. I certainly wasn't prepared for it, and I realised I had not been professional or thorough enough. I rarely lose my cool, but I must have appeared visibly shaken, and this did not go unnoticed by Mr. Weston. Had this been a typical business meeting, my dictaphone would have been on, and the record of the conversation duly logged. But alas, it was not, and I will have to rely on memory to record the conversation. I am writing these notes 35 minutes after our meeting. I've just returned to the car. The conversation below is not wholly accurate and cannot be used as an accurate statement, only a guide to the manner and tone should a transcript be needed for future reference. Mr. Weston began the conversation along the lines of, "Paul, I don't suppose you were expecting to see me. I don't suppose you were even aware that I knew of your existence." Well, I had to agree, really. Weston had always seemed something of a mythical being. Now I was sat opposite the man behind the many stories. Being in the presence of a known criminal has never really worried me. He did, though. "It seems you know quite a bit about me," he said. "It may surprise you to know that I already know quite a bit about you as well, Paul." He seemed comfortable using my first name, though this familiarity left me feeling decidedly uncomfortable. Mr. Weston spoke calmly, but I detected a hint of menace. I was not wrong, either. "Paul," he said, "your job can be very rewarding. I have no doubt about that, but it's not without its dangers. If you dig, you must be very careful not to fall into one of the holes you're digging." Was he trying to suggest I was going to be buried alive, or was I getting carried away with the severity of the situation? Well, he didn't leave me guessing for long. "It was your birthday last night, Paul, wasn't it?" I agreed. "Your mother likes a drink, I hear." Well, that sent a shiver down my spine. "Your sister was, how can I say this, otherwise engaged." He was staring me in the eyes, but there was no affection. Thank God. I stammered a yes and cursed myself for showing weakness. He went on. "I hear you've been tracking my movements for nearly 2 months now." Well, I've been tracking yours for about 1 month and 29 days. How does it feel to be watched, Paul? This was a hypothetical question. I didn't reply. "Your sister did not attend the meal last night for your birthday because she was with me, Paul." "Well, you've been seeing my sister, so I thought perhaps I should see yours. A very pretty and feisty lady, isn't she?" Hypothetical or not, I felt the need to reply to this one. "Are you screwing my sister?" I mumbled. "No more than you're screwing me, Paul," he snapped. "She responds to money and charm. I see my sister is trying to entice you with the same to uncover something about me. Well, I would advise you, Paul, the circles you mix in are within mine. You're not MI5. You're a small-time, lonely, private investigator with ideas above his station. You live alone with a cat called Lee. You have limited success with females, and you are over-reliant on your mother. Your contacts are small fry and unreliable. Now I suggest you swim in the small pond that you belong in, because if you venture into my slipstream again, I will crush you. Mark my words. Enjoy your lonely little holiday with the Krauts, Paul. I suggest you leave this case to gather dust and never dare open it again. My sister is a bitch with an itch. She wants more than she's entitled to, and this is not your concern. I trust we can leave the matter here, especially if you'd like your sister to attend your 38th birthday party." This conversation had been reproduced as accurately as I can remember, and I don't intend to take the matter any further. I'm not afraid to admit that I am visibly and mentally shaken. I am also feeling, well, humiliated. He may be a wrong 'un, but in many ways he's right. I am no Inspector Clouseau. I am actually feeling quite clueless now. I was beginning to believe my own hype, I think, but my feet are now firmly planted on the ground. I have returned home at 3:45 p.m. and I texted my sister. She replied at 7:34 p.m., apologising for missing the meal and asked for my forgiveness and sympathy. She explained that she'd just been dumped by her most recent man, and to be honest, I've never felt happier for her, or for that matter, for myself. After all that, there was only one letter received today from Mr. Green in Plymouth, case 4502. I'm not in the mood for any work today, but here's the letter noted below. I'll deal with this tomorrow. Dear Mr. Brunskill, thank you for your prompt reply and your willingness to take time out of your schedule to take on my proposal. I'm unsure how much you'll be able to garner from a birth certificate, but I hope it gives a man of your talents a decent starting point. Your fee of £150 will not be fair recompense for the work done and the work required going forward, but I'm sure we can negotiate a more reasonable rate for your services. It is so important I find my man. You have no idea how much I appreciate your efforts going forward. Yours sincerely, William Green. Well, at least someone appreciates me.